Hello, my name is Andy Ainsworth, and I'm honored to be here with you today and share some thoughts about fear as it applies to marriage and significant relationships. Um, I serve as a counselor at the Silverdale location, representing Seattle Christian Counseling, and just very grateful to share a few minutes of your time with you. Grateful to my mentor, David Ferguson, and Intimate Encounter Ministries that has had tremendous influence on my life and really is the author of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And just want to honor David and the crew there in Austin, Texas, and before we get started here. But I want to share with you some thoughts about fear in your marriage and fear in significant relationships. What I've found through the years in the work that I'm doing is how alone people are, and we've shared that on other previous videos. And I recently wrote an article, actually in April. You can pick up more information on the idea of fear and the impact on relationships in my April 6th article, if that may help. But tonight, just taking a few minutes and discussing faith as it applies to helping you to walk through fear you may be having in your marriage specifically. Again, people are so alone and so afraid. There's so much shame and condemnation in our culture, and so many secrets in relationships, especially in marriages, and people are truly afraid to be known. And so tonight I want to present a couple of ideas how fear is demonstrated and what really the faith being the antidote for fear. Like one man said, actually faith is the child of fear, because through adversity and struggles and pressures of life, we have to learn where our faith is. Is faith in our own opinion and our own demands and our own behaviors, in our own emotions, or do we have faith in a God who is really concerned for us and wants to share with us his confidence that lives inside of us? So I want to take a few minutes to go through a process and talk about three different ideas that how fear or faith may impact your life. One thing's for sure, where there's faith, there's healthy relationships. And another thing is for sure, and that is where there's fear, there's unhealthy relationships. And we see them being manifest in three different ways. First, I want to take a look at fearful tendencies. One fearful tendency is that we try to get our spouse to meet our needs through manipulating, through nagging, through controlling, how about outright demanding tactics. We want our way. And oftentimes these behaviors don't look like fear. They simply look like control and demands and nagging. But my experience has been that fear seems to be the root of that, and that's deep inside the heart that causes these behaviors to become symptomatic and manifest in a relationship. One thing's for sure, God has promised to supply all of our needs. Philippians 4:19 is very clear about that. He cares about us, and he wants our needs to be met. And generally, he will meet them. Of course, he'll meet them directly, but he has chosen us and put husbands and wives together to care for one another and meet one another's needs. He's capable of prompting my wife and prompting me for us to take care of one another, and he can speak to me much louder than nagging. Not that my wife does nag. But he can speak to me much louder than any nagging that may occur. In fact, he says in Proverbs 21:1, just as he can change the course of a river, he can change the hearts of a king. Certainly, he can change my heart rather than and have me trust him in order to care for my wife, rather than me move into controlling tactics or demanding tactics to somehow sedate the fear that I have deep inside of me. What would faith look like in these situations? What would faith look like instead of manipulation, nagging, demanding tactics, or control? What would God say? Well, maybe he wants me to pray for my wife Paulette. Maybe he wants my wife Paulette to pray for me, and trust that God himself is going to speak to our hearts so we can care well for one another, so we can meet one another's relationship needs, so we can care and bring comfort, compassionate care and comfort to one another's hearts during difficult times. Rather than nagging and game playing and manipulating, maybe we can have a conversation about what our relationship needs actually are and evaluate them and assess and care for one another through an honest conversation and speaking the truth in love to one another, as Ephesians 4:15 says. We don't owe one another. We certainly, our relationship rights have left the building a long time ago. We don't owe one another. But because of God's love inside of us and our love for one another as a result, certainly we can freely give to one another to address some of that fear. So which one of the tactics do you find yourself maybe consistently demonstrating? Where's your faith? Do you find yourself using manipulative tactics, demanding tactics, controlling tactics to somehow calm your heart, calm your fear? Or is there a faith basis, trusting the Lord to move on your spouse's heart to care for you? Are you trusting the Lord to move on your heart to care for your spouse well?